the society does not ask it or recognize it as a problem, then the politicians, they will not help.
It's really sad. I wish I could take them all home, to be honest.
We zitten zo vol dat we alleen nog maar noodgevallen op kunnen nemen.
Nobody cares about them. Like we have a lot of street dogs, a lot.
Let's start like this. We call them stray. The truth is that they are abandoned animals.
Het is iets wat je in Nederland niet ziet, maar op Zakynthos is het een enorm probleem. Zwerfhonden. Op elke hoek van de straat zie je een zwerfhond of kat zitten. Op het eiland zijn 3 organisaties die dit probleem proberen op te lossen. Waaronder Zakynthos Animal Welfare Fund en Santa Strays. Maar hoe zijn die honden in eerste instantie op straat terechtgekomen?
Het probleem is, voorheen was het echt de zwerfhonden die ongesteriliseerd rondliepen en dus jongen kregen en waardoor er steeds meer zwerfdieren kwamen. Dat hebben we aardig de kiem ingesmoord met de 3 organisaties, want de meeste zwerfhonden zijn gewoon van straat gehaald, gesteriliseerd of teruggezet. In het begin was er ook een project dat je ze steriliseerde en weer terugzette. En nu is het probleem, dat was er misschien altijd al, maar werden honden vroeger altijd in de bergen gedumpt. Dus in volumes, weet je, we waren echt in de middle of nowhere en daar gingen ze gewoon dood van de honger. En nu weten ze van het bestaan van organisaties af, dus ze dumpen ze wat meer rond de organisaties zodat ze gevonden worden. Want ja, dat is dan ben je toch nog aardig voor je gedumpte hond.
Dat honden zomaar op straat worden gedumpt is een enorm cultuurverschil. In Nederland zou dit nooit zomaar gebeuren, maar op Zakynthos is het voor veel mensen heel normaal.
As soon as their dog is pregnant and they have babies, they can put them in a box and they can just move them to some other place, a yard probably, that they know that there is an animal lover, so let's go and place them there, even to the garbages. Okay, because we have witnessed this to go to throw your garbage and then you will see a bag, closed bag with living animals inside.
The story is not nice because it was 7 puppies in the bin, but we are doing well, huh? He has a problem with her tail. It's like a cyst. Yeah. I go quick to the vet and I will be back.
Je ziet altijd een piek. Nu begint het seizoen weer. Dus mensen die volop gaan werken, die gaan ook weer volop dumpen. Die hebben dan, toevallig zijn er bij een volunteer gisteren weer een pup gedumpt van 5 maanden. Dus je verzorgt zo'n pup 5 maanden. En dan besluit je toch in ene van dat puppy, dat hoef ik nou niet meer.
Ook Santa Strays merkt dat het cultuurverschil de kern van het probleem is.
Vooral de oudere generatie, die heeft in onze ogen hele rare ideeën erover. De dieren, of speciaal de honden en katten, hebben geen gevoel. Die voelen geen pijn, niks. Dus je kan ermee doen wat je wil en het maakt allemaal niet uit. Ik denk dat een hond minder waard is dan een kip. Een kip is veel belangrijker, want die kan je eten en die legt eieren. En een hond, ja, die bindt je vast en die moet de kippen bewaken.
Als we spreken met inwoners van Zakynthos, wordt duidelijk hoe zij over de zwerfhonden denken.
I think they have a good place here, the stray. Yeah, they are volunteering island. Yeah? I would say. But they are abandoned, but they have every time something to eat. They find easily something to eat. If you walk on the road, you're gonna find a lot of people feeding them.
Oh yes.
Yeah, you're gonna find a lot of them that take something. A can, the can don't cost nothing, 30 cents. So they don't care about it.
En dat is ook met de sterilisatie zo, hele ouderwetse ideeën van we doen niet steriliseren, want de honden moeten ook, dat is weer de andere kant op, moeten ook kunnen genieten van de seks. En, terwijl ze eigenlijk vinden dat ze geen gevoel hebben. Dus het druist allemaal tegen alles in.
They have to make doggies, it's a nature, Yeah.
Here we are. Loves it.
Dat het een probleem is duidelijk. Maar hoe groot is het probleem nu eigenlijk?
So we figure out that in a year we almost sterilize about 1,000 dogs per year. For an island like Zakynthos with a population about 40,000 people, residents, it's a huge amount.
Je zou denken dat als er in een land zo'n maatschappelijk probleem speelt, de overheid zich er sterk voor inzet. Dit is echter op Zakynthos niet het geval. De politiek probeert zichzelf zo min mogelijk met het probleem te bemoeien.
First of all, they do not have prioritized it as a big problem. This is, let's say, now they start waking and understand that this is a problem. Another problem is that they are not recognized, they do not know because there are not any statistics. So far, you cannot find statistics reports because if you don't recognize that this is a problem, then you cannot solve it. Firstly, you have to recognize that you do have a problem and then try to find the solution.
De overheid zou ons eigenlijk veel meer moeten kunnen steunen. Op zich hebben wij voor Griekse begrippen een prachtige shelter. Met gewone betonnen dingen en riolering en alles. En de honden zien er gewoon goed gezond uit. Maar we krijgen geen officiële status. En omdat we geen officiële status krijgen, kunnen we ook geen traces krijgen. Wat het transport weer heel moeilijk maakt. Volgens de Griekse wet zijn dit allemaal de honden van de gemeente. Dus die zouden er eigenlijk wat aan moeten doen. Het enige wat ze nu doen sinds 2 jaar is dat ze een programma steunen. Dat is als je dan een hond vindt van straat, dat ze de kosten van de sterilisatie, de inentingen en de chip betalen. Maar tot een zeker bedrag. Wat lang niet alles dekt, maar goed, het helpt in ieder geval een beetje. En ik denk van ja, jullie zouden ook wat invloed kunnen uitoefenen op diegenen die ons een officiële status moeten geven. Ze zijn hier dan wel geweest om te kijken en dan gaat het om kleine belachelijke dingen. Dat we geen kantoortje hebben, dat er geen personeelstoilet is. Ja, dan denk ik van daar gaat het helemaal niet om.
Omdat de overheid zo weinig doet, is Zakynthos Trace afhankelijk van donaties.
Nice donations. Nice and new.
Yeah. Is that a donation?
Yeah, they came from England and we had quite a lot, but now we have only small ones left.
After 2008, municipalities have so many financial problems, so they cannot hire people, let's say. They are not allowed. After the last pet bill that was voted in September, the idea was, and this is in the law actually, that they're going to have a very generously fund from the government. Still, we have not seen anything.
Naast donaties is Zakynthos Trace afhankelijk van vrijwilligers. Astrid is één van die vrijwilligers. Zij is helemaal vanuit Nederland naar de hondenopvang gekomen om zich in te kunnen zetten voor de zwerfhonden.
Ja, dat voelt heel goed. Het is een hele leuke voldoening geeft het. Het is ook soms heel emotioneel en heel stressvol. Zeker nu we heel erg vol zitten en de transporten heel moeilijk gaan vanwege de traces en de brexit van Engeland.
Give me your paw. Hello, Thomas, give me your paw. Hello, baby. Yeah. Good pillow. Hello, give me your paw. Good.
Ja, en je ziet er is een pagina Lost and Found, je ziet heel veel puppies lopen, mensen die posten, magere honden en je kan dan echt niks. En nou we weer zo overvol zijn, hebben we weer heel veel gevechten. Eén hond zit helemaal vol met gaten, dat gebeurt dan 's nachts en die vind je dan 's morgens. En dat is echt heel erg en we willen niet zoveel honden bij elkaar, maar we hebben geen andere keus. Die hond is net naar de dierenarts geweest, die heeft een hele gezwollen poot. Die is waarschijnlijk of door een rat gebeten of ja, we herkennen ze niet. Je hebt een heel lang beest met ik weet niet hoeveel poten. En als die bijten, dan zwelt ook alles op. Hij zit nou op zijn poten liggen, die is echt helemaal super dik.
Saw her limping and but we didn't saw a cut or anything. And then certainly a half a day later it was like very big swelling. So now she's on medication.
We zijn afhankelijk van donaties. We hebben heel veel sponsors in Nederland, Duitsland en voornamelijk heel veel in Engeland. En gelukkig krijgen we maandelijks giften. En vooral de toeristen zijn heel belangrijk in de zomer om inkomsten te genereren.
Met die donaties zorgt Zakynthos voor voer, medicijnen en andere benodigdheden. De overige kosten, zoals vaccinaties, worden betaald van het geld wat ze ontvangen als iemand een hond adopteert. Deze kosten proberen ze zo laag mogelijk te houden, maar worden bemoeilijkt door verschillende factoren. Ondanks dat ze voor elke hond een huisje proberen te vinden, gaat er een selectie aan vooraf.
We maken video's en foto's en die worden geplaatst op onze Facebook-site en op onze website. En daar kunnen mensen zeggen van nou, dat vind ik een leuke hond, daar ben ik in geïnteresseerd. En dan kunnen ze ons een bericht sturen. En dan komt er een heel proces van een intake eerst. En dan moeten ze allerlei informatie geven, hoe ze wonen, hoe het gezin is, hebben ze andere huisdieren. En dan wordt er een huischeck gedaan, dus wordt er echt daadwerkelijk gekeken of de tuin veilig is, hoe de woonsituatie is. Nou, als het allemaal goedgekeurd is, dan mogen ze de honden adopteren. Het is niet zo dat we zeggen van oké, jij wil een hondje, neem maar mee. We halen ze niet van straat om ze weer in een beroerde situatie terug te brengen.
Maar voordat de honden geadopteerd kunnen worden, moeten ze eerst wel van de straat gered worden. En dat gebeurt uiteraard ook door vrijwilligers.
We are very few, so there is not enough time, let's say, to work, okay, to work your normal job, and then to foster and care about the animals, and then also to try to alert the society and to encourage people to go to the police, to report animal abuse cases. It's a daily routine actually that really press very big pressure in some people.
Waar de vrijwilligers juist heel veel druk voelen, doet de politie alsof haar neus bloedt.
En we hebben hele strenge wetten. Het is echt niet normaal vergeleken bij als je in Nederland een hond doodslaat, krijg je een taakstrafje. Hier krijg je zeker 3.000 tot 5.000 euro boete en je gaat de gevangenis in als je de hond zou doodslaan. Als je een hond aan een te korte ketting hebt, niet genoeg vers water, geen schaduw, krijg je ook een flinke boete. Dus de wetten die zijn er, maar ze worden niet uitgevoerd. Maar dat is ook weer heel Grieks, de politie. Ik weet niet wat de politie hier doet. Of waar dan ook, maar er wordt niet veel, je ziet ze ook haast niet. En wij doen ook wel aanklachten, want als ze hier gedumpt worden en we betrappen mensen, dan gaan we naar het politiebureau. Ja, er gebeurt weinig. We hebben toevallig, laatst kwam er een dame ingemarcheerd met 2 honden en die bond ze hier aan het hek vast. En wij zeiden ho ho. En ze had mij al gebeld, ik zeg je kan ze niet brengen want we zitten vol. En ze kwam toch en ze liet de honden achter, daar hebben we foto's van gemaakt in de video naar het politiebureau. En nou ja, er gebeurt verder niks.
Wat doen jullie dan met zo'n hond, met die honden?
Ja, die blijven dan wel, die prop je er maar echt letterlijk prop je die er weer tussen. We hebben, in het begin hadden we ook heel veel honden, hadden ook heel veel gevechten in de pens. En dat is jaren niet het geval geweest. En nu we weer zo overvol zijn, hebben we weer heel veel gevechten.
Om aandacht te vragen voor het probleem zijn de organisaties erg actief op sociale media. Al is niet iedereen even positief daarover.
We raise cases like animal abuse from hunters, which is a very sensitive matter in Zakynthos. We did post something and you see immediately the reaction, how badly they are and how they react, but we don't mind. I mean, we are prepared to face the problem face to face, and it's better to have the reaction because everybody can see, everybody can understand now what it's really the problem is. It was a case for some hunters, somebody stole 6 dogs. Somebody stole them, and they were hunting dogs. They called them hunting dogs for rabbits. And this man went to the police, to the port authority, and of course, yeah, it's a bad thing. But also he posted a video, he shared a video how the dogs were living. The dogs were living in a prison. It was a jail actually. 6 dogs, chains, 1.5 meter chains. Each one had his house. So when we saw that, okay, we have one case that somebody stole the dogs, but what is the other case? How these dogs were living? So somebody stole them from one prison, so they can move to another prison. And this is what we wrote, and we remind as well when we wrote that what the law says about the living condition of an animal. And what we were seeing in that video, it was exactly the opposite. And this is what we make public. So people react in this, and they are saying now that we, the animal lovers, we are the one that we are got crazy about the animals, And the animals should live like this because they are animals. We shouldn't have a problem because they are chained and they're living the whole life like this.
Niet alleen organisaties, maar ook toeristen, inwoners en restauranteigenaren proberen de honden te helpen.
It breaks your heart because there's that many of them, and you think, why the strays? In the town there's about 4 or 5. If you go further out to some of the cafes, they're all lingering around. They just chase them out. Get them sniffing the bin. We went to the shop and brought them some food, and please.
Back in England, you don't get stray dogs. You know, you come here, dogs are friends at home, but here, not so much.
No.
I mean, people have dogs, but it's not nice to see a dog running around, is it? Yeah. So, like, how we see dogs is probably different to how they see dogs.
Do you feel responsible to feed them?
Yeah.
Why?
Nobody else is, and it makes you feel sad.
Yeah, it's if that was your own dog at home and you had lost it, if you'd lost your own dog, you would think you would like somebody else to feed it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, this is life, isn't it? Not everybody's as kind. Not everyone's as kind.
Actually, we call the people, you know, to take them. If they are not passing one way, you know, they pass and go. I mean, when you see many times on the street, like nobody cares about them. We feed them sometime, you know. So some people here is looking after. They give them food, you know, the dry food for dogs, you know. But if we talk as a business, we don't like to feed them with the food of the restaurant because we think it's not good for them, you know, let's say.
I think the English people here on the island are looking to give something to eat, for a house to stay, you know, they look out for the stray dogs. Also, there's a lot of what's called like helping the animals, philozoiki we call it here in Greece. They are helping, they give food. I think the stray dogs, excuse me? Volunteers, yeah, exactly, yeah. Also in the shop there, the Quick, there is a girl that's in this company volunteering. So I try to go to the other side of the road so they don't get hit by the car. This is the only thing, because we have a lot of quad bikes here, so it's very dangerous for the stray cats and the dogs also. You know, because the tourists, when they drive quads, they don't look out for the cats. We have a lot of, you know, accidents with those.
We love dogs, animals in general. Most of the time we go buy from a pet shop. This food is not healthy for the dogs anyway, because pepper, salt and everything. You might want to do something good, but eventually you will do more damage in the physical health. Yeah, in Athens, after I finish my work, I have in my car pet shop food, and there is a square nearby, so we go there, feed them. If you see a street dog, let's say, that seems lost, you can take a picture of it, say where you saw it, you upload it in the Facebook, there's a page, and people go check if he has a chip, they ask people if they saw it, if it's someone, they check, they basically check it, they're trying to catch it and check it. If it's not someone's dog, they put them in, people basically take them, not shelter, because people take them to their houses and they're looking families for them. So basically they do personal custody, personal take care, they put them in their own beds. So yeah, because most of the shelters are already full, like we have a lot of street dogs, a lot.
It's much smaller, huh?
Yeah, very much.
Beautiful girl. She's still available. She needs to smile.
is the pen that we're going to go in. So yeah, I normally go in on my own, obviously, because they're getting used to one person first, so it's like one-on-one. And I'll go in and I'll be very non-threatening, so like, you know, come, trust me, I'm okay. But these girls are lovely anyway. They're not so aggressive, they're just very fearful. So yeah, it's just gaining trust, slowly, and then getting them out on a lead and out in the playground. Ella, puppy, Ella. Come on in. Come on. So I normally try and wait for them to come, so I'm not too forceful on them, you know, so let them come to you rather than pushing yourself on them. But maybe because it's new people, she might not come out. But yeah, so if she doesn't come out, then I will go to the pen and try and entice her out with food.
Jess is vanuit Engeland naar Zakynthos verhuisd en houdt zich nu dagelijks bezig met het trainen van de honden. Ondanks dat ze vindt dat elke hond een tweede kans verdient, denkt ze niet dat elke hond geschikt is om geadopteerd te worden.
I think it's more, you know, the dog's there to do a job. It's like a tool. It's not necessarily always a pet. If they do have a pet dog, it's normally like a lap dog, you know, like an indoor dog. But they use the hunting, obviously, the hunting breeds for hunting, and dogs like, you know, the big sort of mountain dogs, they're normally for guarding. So, yeah, unfortunately, if they're not doing their job or, you know, it's not working out, they will dump them. And most of the dogs aren't sterilised, so then we get lots of puppies, which isn't great. But yeah, some of them have had really bad lives, like they would have been on a chain for a long time, and then therefore then they might not be very good with people, they might not be good with other dogs. So yeah, it's we get a lot of different sad stories, unfortunately, and you can tell the ones that have been abused because you lift your hand or you go a little bit and they're, you know, like this. So it's difficult to undo that sometimes. Yeah.
It is very normal to keep pets in the island. I will place it myself. I don't know the numbers, but I will place it around 60 to 70% of the houses. They do have pets. Just the thing with that is that, and again, without knowing the official numbers, from these 60 to 70% pet owners, only the 20 to 30% they follow all the rules, like give some freedom to the dogs, for example, so they can walk themselves, they can run. A lot of dogs they stay chained for a long time, for a life as well. I've seen dogs. Some of them they don't have a good house where they are gonna be fully protected from sun and rain. Vaccination. That is again some other thing that not all of the pets are being provided by the owners. Sterilization, and this is what is makes the problem go on and on. Most of the dogs of the pets owners, they don't sterilize them. It's the cost as well. But it's the fact that they don't. They think that what is gonna happen if they are gonna have a birth, and this is what everyone thinks. And at the end, you have thousands of dogs on the streets from births. So yeah. It is normal for the people here, the houses, to have pets, but it is very normal too for them not to follow all of the rules. All they really have to do to have a happy pet and a less problematic society as well.
De opkomst van het adopteren is maar een druppel op de gloeiende plaat. Het is een grote stap in de goede richting, maar vanwege de beperkingen kunnen nooit alle honden gered worden op deze manier. Al met al zijn er dus 3 opties volgens Zakynthos Animal Welfare Fund: adoptie, educatie en sterilisatie. Maar hiervoor is de status verstande streed dus heel belangrijk.
Not all of the dogs can be adopted. Not all the dogs can be adopted abroad. I mean, we're not. But let's say sterilization. It's the number one. To try to manage the population of the stray animals. Because like this, they will have much better quality, life quality, and then also adoptions and education. There are 3 things.
It might take a good, 20 minutes for her to come out the pen. So yeah, it's all about patience, gaining trust, and then just slowly getting them used to life, basically, because they're not used to new things, new smells, new people. So it's all overwhelming in the first couple weeks. Hi. See, that was good. That was a good moment, but yeah, she would normally. She is further on than that at the moment. Like she would normally come up, but yeah, she's doing well.
Ondanks dat er nog geen grote oplossingen zijn, bevestigen meerdere bronnen dat ze de samenleving ten opzichte van de zwerfhonden zien veranderen. Waar Giota eerder vertelde over slechte reacties online, is ze toch blij met de opkomst van sociale media, omdat dit volgens haar bijdraagt aan een positieve verandering van de manier waarop de nieuwe generaties omgaan met dieren.
Okay, that is something that lately, the last year, clearly has changed. Maybe it's the power of the social media, younger generation. So yeah, definitely something is changing. Definitely. We are more people now that we are voicing out for animal rights, much more. Also, we have the tourists, the younger tourists, also the same. That it was amazing, at least last year it was, that they didn't only try to find, to help a stray dog, but also to report it. It was amazing to see young people to try to find the legalization in Greece and actually to go to the police and do report whatever they were seeing.
It might sound weird, but I actually do think that the problem is getting better, is getting less of a problem. And that is because the last 15, 20 years, with a great weapon of internet, we can collect information about the problem. We can really see that there's a big problem, and not only focus on our neighborhood, because before the internet exists, we might see a couple of dogs on the streets, but we probably thought that that's all the problem. But now that the problem is not only in our neighborhood, it's everywhere. So the people are getting more worried now, more sensitive, they get more education, and then they try to solve the problem themselves in their neighborhood, and being members of organizations as well, volunteers, so they can decrease the problem. And yes, I really think that the problem is getting better slightly. It's still a huge problem, but I think that it's on the good way to the 0 point, like no stray dogs at all. It will take a lot of time, I guess, but I think that someday we will get there.
Because there are already too many. We cannot feed them, we cannot take care of them, we cannot do anything. The same goes for the cats. In my building I have already 6-7 cats. I put food, but what else I can do? I can take them to the vet, but this costs a lot of money. I cannot always put money on them, even if I want to. And people there in the seats, the big chairs, they usually don't give a shit. They don't give a crap.
Een andere oplossing die genoemd wordt, is dierenleed aangeven bij de politie. Volgens de wet moet er prioriteit gegeven worden aan deze meldingen, maar in de praktijk gaat dit volkomen anders. Sterker nog, in sommige gevallen gebeurt het zelfs dat de melder zo wordt omgepraat dat hij degene is die iets fout heeft gedaan.
Also, this is a very huge problem because clearly we have the legalization there. Actually, in some parts it's very strict for animal abuse, and we have the police officers. And we're facing many times that awkward thing that the police officer is not aware of the legalization. Or is unwilling to help actually, to do his job actually. We have cases that they were trying to reverse the testimony or to the one that he wants to report to make him feel like he's guilty for something and do not speak. Yeah, we're facing that, but we insist. So now when we go to the police station for the report, we carry with us the legalization. And we show them this paragraph, this, and this paragraph. Look what it says here. They cannot do anything. They have to write down our testimony. The thing is that after that, they're not acting like high priority to let's go and see and check the camera, for example, and see what happened. It's a fight also for this one. What else we're doing now? Lately, we're sending emails if we have for any case actually, when we have photo, video, so by email, we make a report of the animal abuse by email, and also this email, we share it with the headquarters of the police. We do it at least for us to have a statistic that in a year we send 10 cases, 20 cases. And when we do it like this, they have to reply us back.
Here's some antibiotics and anti-inflammation for a dog which got attacked, for example. This is for the leishmania, and antibiotics for the sterilized dogs.
De beste oplossing volgens Gyota? Vat krijgen op het probleem. En dat kan maar op één manier.
I believe that one of the main thing is the education, and especially if you start from the early age, this is the base, the fundamental. And unfortunately, with the 2 years of COVID and all these restrictions, that was really cancelled, and now we have the tourist season ahead of us, so the most of us, we are working in this industry. After that period of the 6 months, then we need to reschedule and make new plans again for school visits. And the other tool is the social media, which actually it's powerful in nowadays, and we see reactions there. We raise cases like animal abuse from hunters, which is a very sensitive matter in Zakynthos. And only yesterday we did post something, and you see immediately the reaction, how badly they are and how they react, but we don't mind. I mean, we are prepared to face the problem face to face, and it's better to have the reaction because everybody can see everybody can understand now what is really the problem is.
Eén ding is zeker. Er moet iets veranderen. En die verandering is al bezig. Maar wanneer is hier iets van te merken?
But the future means 20 years.